There is something strange you need to understand from this very moment. Even before you realized your own power, others had already seen it. They saw the light in you when it was just a faint spark, fragile and small, while you had no idea you were carrying a fire strong enough to burn through the darkness. That is why they rushed to write the ending of your story before you even had the chance to begin it. They thought that by doing so, they could rewrite destiny. But destiny never bows to the weak hands of men. Destiny does not ask. It does not beg. It commands. And for you, the chosen one, destiny carved your name into the eternal pages long before your first cry. Look back, and you will see. You never truly belonged to the crowd. You tried to fit in. You tried to lower your head. You tried to smile like you were just another face among thousands. But deep down, you knew you couldn't blend in. Your soul refused to stay trapped in the narrow mold society had set. The voice within you would not let you live a life of begging, of waiting for crumbs to fall from the hands of those in power. They fear you. Yes, not just suspicion, not just envy. Fear. They tremble at the sight of you, even when you have no idea what to do with your own strength. Have you noticed? Sometimes they look at you as if they're seeing an omen. They whisper your name with unease, like naming a storm before it hits. To them, you are a threat, not because you did anything wrong, but because your very existence is a prophecy. And when they realized they couldn't extinguish that light, their fear grew stronger. Can you imagine it? In the dark, they clutch their charms, grip crystals, even search on Google for ways to reverse karma, all because your presence makes them feel like the end is near. But you have done nothing. You simply live. You simply exist. You simply are. And that alone is more than enough to shake their foundation. People used to think power came with shouting, with noise and show. But no, the chosen do not rise in noise. We rise like a silent storm, sudden, unseen, and by the time they realize, it's already too late. And those who once laughed at you can only stand helpless as the fire inside you blazes through every illusion they built. Do you know what frightens them the most? It's not just your strength. It's what your strength reflects. It mirrors the emptiness inside them. It reveals what they lack. It reminds them that they chose the easy path, the safe path, the path of surrendering to a power that never belonged to them. But you chose to rise. You chose to build a foundation while they searched for shortcuts. You trained in silence while they craved applause. And when you step into the light, they no longer see a person, but everything they gave up on. Their hatred was never truly aimed at you. It was always aimed at themselves. Every time they look at you, they're reminded of the choices they didn't make. Every step you take is a reminder of how far they could have gone, how strong they could have been, but didn't dare. And that truth suffocates them. An ancient word once echoed, and today it still echoes within you. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. Can you hear it? That is not just a sentence. It is a wake-up call. Because you are living proof that light can never be conquered by darkness. And so, every attempt to stop you is just an illusion. They don't understand that you were never made to crawl, never meant to stay grounded. You were made to fly. The day they tried to break your wings was the day the universe planted the seed of strength within you. They don't know that in every wound you endured, a new power was born. They don't realize that each time you fell, you rose even stronger. How many times have you asked yourself, why me? Why do all the doubts, all the attacks, all the resistance come my way? But now you know. Because you are different. Because you carry a mark that cannot be copied. Because you are living proof of a truth they've never had the courage to face. Not everyone was born to bow. Some were born to break the chains. And you are one of the rare few. Look again. How many times have they tried to put out your flame, yet your light returned? How many times have they tried to drag you down, but you kept rising? How many lies have they spread, yet the truth still speaks loud? And now, nothing can deny it. When you walk, the ground beneath them shakes. When you are silent, their hearts waver. When you smile, they feel the storm coming. Every sign, every whisper proves one thing. You were never ordinary. You are the moment the universe has been waiting for. And now, in the darkness, you begin to feel the shift. As if something unseen is moving you forward. As if everything that ever happened, every pain, every betrayal, every tear, was just the prologue. You begin to see clearly. They were never in control. They were only gatekeepers of illusion, thinking they could stop a river. But the river flows on, yes, and that is why you are here, to remember, to awaken, to step into the power that has always been yours. Because this story is far from over. In truth, it's only just begun. And right now, in the silence, a voice still whispers, "Chosen one, rise. You were never born to crawl. You were made to soar." And then, from deep within, a question rises. If even your enemies could see the power in you, isn't it time you looked into that light yourself? Maybe you've felt it before, that strange sense of being targeted. Out of so many people, why you? Why do the arrows of doubt, the quiet traps, and the sudden attacks always seem to find you, even when you've done nothing to provoke them? It's not random, not fate drawing straws, not a cosmic joke. It's the difference within you that made them notice. And when they caught even the faintest glimpse of that light, fear drove them to act quickly. They struck before you even knew what you had. They tried to break your wings before they were strong enough to fly. They wanted you to fall before you ever had a chance to walk. You thought it was unfair, but in truth, it was the clearest sign that you carry something they cannot control. There is something worth reflecting on. Enemies often smell the scent of the future before you do. They fear not who you are right now, but who you are becoming. They're not afraid of your voice today, but of the fire that will rise tomorrow. That's why they come early, far too early, before you've even awakened to your power. Do you remember those days of being mocked, belittled, looked down upon? They stared at you and scoffed. What's so special about that one? But behind their eyes, there was a flicker of fear you didn't catch. Because they had seen what even you had yet to realize. Light cannot stay hidden forever. Why you? Because you carry a pull that not everyone has. Not something flashy on the outside, but a force that radiates from within. It shows in the way you rise after every fall, in the silence that speaks louder than 1,000 threats, in the calmness in your eyes that unsettles them. You were never just another face in the crowd. You carry a mark, and the first to recognize it weren't your friends or those who loved you. It was your enemies. They may have pretended to dismiss you. They may have laughed at your inexperience. But behind the laughter was worry they couldn't hide. Because they knew if you had time, if you had space to grow, that light inside you would expand. And one day, it would rise beyond their reach. That's why they tried to make you doubt yourself. They whispered lies into your ears, planted seeds of fear in your heart. They didn't want you to believe in your strength. They wanted you to bow your head, to accept the story that you were just average. But your very existence proved the opposite. Every time you stood up, you proved them wrong. Every time you moved forward in silence, you made their fear grow. And eventually, the truth they never dared admit began to show. You are the storm they cannot stop. The chosen never walk the path of the masses. The chosen have their own signs, their own language, their own heartbeat. And sometimes, the universe places a number in front of you to remind you of your journey. That number is 111, the number of new beginnings, of gateways opening, of sacred alignment between your soul and your destiny. When 111 appears, it whispers, "Step forward. The next chapter is ready." Maybe you've seen 111 before, on a clock, when you happen to glance, on a receipt, in a fleeting dream. It wasn't coincidence. It was confirmation, a sign that you're on the right path. If something deep within you resonates right now, let that number be etched on your heart as a promise. You were born to begin again, to blaze new trails, to walk through doors others were too afraid to touch. Imagine a river blocked by stones. Outsiders think it has been stopped, but the river doesn't end. It finds its way through cracks, through narrow channels, only to return stronger, more powerful. That is you. Everything they've done to hold you back has only made your strength gather, waiting for the moment to break free. In the moments you felt like you'd lost everything, do you remember hearing a faint whisper? In those nights, you cried silently. There was still a small voice inside you saying, "Just get up." That wasn't a hallucination. That was destiny speaking to you. And now, right here, the pieces start to come together. You see it clearly. The enemy didn't choose you because you were weak, but because you are strong. Not because you fall easily, but because you don't stay down. Not because your name is just a name, but because your name has already been written into destiny, with a pen no one can erase. Can you see it now? They woke you up. In trying to destroy you, they made you rise. In trying to stop you, they cleared your path. In trying to tear you down, they unknowingly became the blacksmiths that forged your unbreakable spirit. This world doesn't need more people who blend in. This world needs those who dare to be different, and you are living proof of that. They can deny it, mock it, twist it into lies, but truth doesn't need protection. It simply is, unshaken, and one day it will rise in the brightest light. And when that light shines, you won't just see yourself. You'll finally understand why they feared you. You'll understand why every eye turned to you from the very beginning. Listen to your heartbeat now. It no longer beats for fear. It's echoing the rhythm of rising. And from this moment on, a brand new chapter begins. One where lies no longer rule, and truth no longer waits in silence. In that darkness, truth will guide you to one more discovery. The hatred they hurled at you was never really about you. It was always about themselves. There is a painful secret you may have never realized. They never truly hated you. They hated themselves. Every judgmental glance, every harsh word, every scheme built to hold you back, all of it was just their way of escaping the disappointment they carry within their own soul. When they look at you, they don't just see a person, they see a mirror reflecting every moment they chose comfort over courage. A mirror showing all the opportunities they let slip away because they weren't strong enough to claim them. And that mirror is you. Have you noticed? Every time you enter a room, the energy shifts. Some people can't hide the unease in their eyes. They avoid looking at you too long. They try to walk away. It's not because you're threatening. It's because your presence reminds them of everything they refused to become. While they took the shortest path, you chose the long road. While they sought comfort, you walked through fire. While they clung to society's praise, you trained in silence. And now, every step you take, every breath you draw, strikes at the heart of their excuses. You never took anything from them. Yet they resent you as if you stole their chance. The truth is, they had the same 24 hours you did. They stood at the same crossroads, the same doors to growth. But when that moment came, they turned away. They chose the easy way out. And now, seeing you walk the path they feared, their hearts are heavy with regret they can't erase. When they whisper behind your back, when they spread rumors, when they try to plant doubt in your heart, that's not proof that you're wrong. It's proof that you're right. Because light never makes the darkness comfortable. And the brighter the light shines, the louder the darkness screams. A promise was written long ago, and today it echoes once more. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Psalm 37:4. This is the key. Your joy doesn't come from their approval. Your deepest desires are not tied to envious eyes. Your fulfillment doesn't come from praise, but from purpose. And because of that, they can never touch what lives inside you. Can you hear the calling in this message? If your heart is beating faster, if your soul feels seen, then acknowledge that you've heard it. Let your action be your answer. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to declare that you belong on this journey. This isn't just a button, it's a commitment that you've answered the voice within. Because the truth is, you don't need their approval, you don't need anyone's permission, but you do need to stand in your light, without shrinking, without apologizing, without making yourself small so others can stay comfortable. And then, you'll realize something. The enemy never really fought you. They fought their reflection in the mirror. When they mocked you, they were trying to silence the voice inside. When they tried to tear you down, they were trying to cover up the truth that they had already lowered themselves. Do you see the irony? You were never the problem. But they made you the target of all the resentment they couldn't resolve. And in that rage, they revealed a deeper truth. They don't hate you for what you've done. They hate you for reminding them of what they never dared to do. So let it go. Their resentment is not a weight you have to carry. Their insecurity is not your burden to heal. The path you're walking is the path of destiny, not of approval. And when you understand this, you become unshakable. Remember, light never asks darkness for permission to shine. A flame doesn't wait to be accepted before it ignites. And you don't need anyone else to become who you were always meant to be. They may keep running. They may keep hiding in the lies they built around themselves. But you are different. You no longer run. You no longer pretend to be small. You are ready to stand tall, to look into the mirror and see the truth. You are the chosen one. Take a deep breath and let your soul absorb this. You were never as weak as they thought. You were being forged. You were never abandoned. You never lost your purpose. Every challenge was just the fog before the dawn. And when the dawn comes, your light won't just shine for you. It will shine for all to see. It will expose the darkness, rip off the masks, and leave no place for lies to hide. You can feel it, can't you? The light inside you is growing, and soon it will burst beyond the reach of anyone. And when it does, there will be no more excuses. They will be forced to face the truth that you never meant to hurt them. But your existence alone made them confront themselves. And this is only the beginning, because ahead lies an even deeper truth. It's not just them, it's a whole system that was waiting for you to bow. But you were never born to bow. You were born to break the chains that system built. Your steps are now touching the foundations of old walls. Walls that are about to crumble as truth crashes through every mold. And the path forward is unfolding right before your eyes. As the light within you grows clearer, you begin to realize an undeniable truth. You never belonged to this system. You once tried to please it, tried to follow the well-worn path others walked. You tried to fit in, to stay connected, to blend into the crowd. But the further you walked, the more suffocated you felt. Like a bird trapped in a golden cage, there is food, water, and light, but no sky. This system was built to restrain, to bind, to turn strong souls into obedient ones. They told you that if you want recognition, you must play by their rules. If you want to advance, you must do what they've done. If you want to survive, you must learn to bow. But can you feel it? Even when you tried to follow, something inside still beat to a rhythm of truth. You were never born to bow. You were never meant to fight for a seat at their table. That table was never yours, and you don't need it. You were born to build a new table, one no one can take from you, a place where your light can shine freely. Imagine this: while they scramble to climb a shaky ladder, you chose to build a mountain. They sweat, push, and trample each other just to hold a small place in a system that was never built to set them free. But you, with every stone thrown at you in mockery, with every blow shaped by pain, have laid the foundation for a path no one can break. They look at you and feel hatred, not because you took something from them, but because you prove their way isn't the only way. They cling to rules, to schemes, to rotten seats, just to feel important. But you, all you need is to stand firm, breathe deeply, and keep walking. And that alone is enough to shatter the false beliefs they built their entire lives around. Do you know what angers them most? It's not that you challenge them. It's that you don't need them. You don't need their approval to become someone. You don't need their applause to know your strength. You don't need validation from a system they worship to feel worthy. And when they see your freedom, they suddenly see the chains wrapped around themselves. The world might tell you that you're lost, that you're wrong, that you'll fall if you don't follow the rules. But those rules are nothing more than walls designed to keep people under control. And you were never born to stand behind walls. You were born to break them. Listen closely. Every step you take in silence sends ripples that unsettle the system. They don't understand how you're still standing after they pulled the chair from under you. They don't understand how you keep moving forward when they block your path. They don't understand because they've never tasted true freedom. There is an image etched in Scripture, and today it appears again. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118:22. They once cast you aside. They said you were worthless, unimportant, just a discarded stone. But that stone became the foundation for something new. You are that stone, and no matter how much the old system dismissed you, it cannot erase the purpose you carry. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to stand out. You weren't born to sit in their seat. You were born to build a throne that's never existed before. And when you embrace this truth, nothing can touch you. Remember this: the universe didn't call you to be a copy. You weren't sent here to become a watered-down version of someone else. You are the original, and that uniqueness is what makes your enemies tremble. And then another truth rises: you don't need noise. You don't need to shout to prove your strength. The ones fighting over titles and seats must dress themselves in flash and noise to hide their emptiness. But you, in stillness, are gathering energy for an explosion no one sees coming. Can you feel it? There's a storm waiting in silence. A storm that needs no announcement. A storm that's only waiting for the right moment to rise. They may call you crazy, lost, rebellious, but you don't owe them proof, because the truth will speak for itself. When the fire ignites, when the storm roars, every lie will fall like dry leaves in the wind. Be patient, stand strong, because that moment is coming. The moment when those who once laughed at you fall silent. The moment when your silence becomes thunder. The moment when the chains of their system begin to shatter. And then, when silence becomes your weapon, you'll see the truth. Real power was never in the noise. It was always in the preparation, the unwavering spirit, the eyes that do not blink when the storm arrives. You were never one of them. And that is exactly what makes you dangerous. The quiet days that seemed meaningless were actually the beginning of something unexpected, a moment when your silence will make the world hold its breath. There is a paradox you've likely felt all along. For years, they mocked your silence. And yet now, it is that very silence that has silenced them. They believed that if you weren't loud, you couldn't be dangerous. They thought silence meant weakness. But they were wrong. The most dangerous presence in the room is never the one shouting. It's the one who sits still, listening, observing, preparing. While they rushed to flaunt their small victories, you chose to remain in the shadows. While they boasted empty titles, you quietly laid a solid foundation. They needed an audience to feel valuable. You didn't need anyone watching to know you were growing stronger. And that difference became a canyon between you and them. They thought you had stopped. They believed you were stuck. They laughed at your silence, mocked your patience, but they never saw what was burning inside you. They didn't realize that even in silence, the fire was alive, that in stillness, your blade was being sharpened. And when the moment comes, the strike born from silence will be stronger than any scream. Do you remember those nights lost in thought? While the world outside rushed to be loud, you chose to stay still. While everyone else scrambled to be seen, you chose to observe. They thought you missed your chance, but in truth, you were preparing for something greater. They never understood that silence is not emptiness. It is the time when seeds begin to grow. There is a whisper recorded in Scripture that still echoes today. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. This is not just an invitation to rest, but a declaration. In silence, divine power is revealed, and you are the living proof of that truth. You don't need noise to prove your worth. The stillness within you speaks louder than anything they've said. When you step out of the shadows, when your fire finally bursts forth, it won't be because you rushed. It will be because you were patient. Because you chose deliberate silence, conscious waiting, focused preparation. And when your light explodes into the open, it will strike like lightning, leaving those who once belittled you stunned and unprepared. Can you see the irony? They were too busy laughing to get ready. While they danced in the illusion of their shallow victories, you were quietly drawing the map for something monumental. And when you emerge, their preparation or lack of it will mean nothing. Because some battles are decided long before the first step is taken, and you are living proof of that. Your rise isn't just a step forward. It's a thunderclap that splits the sky, a sudden blaze that drives back every shadow. They didn't see you coming. They didn't hear you approaching. But when you appear, you don't simply arrive, you erupt. Picture that moment the room falls silent. The mocking laughter disappears. Those who once dismissed you are wide-eyed, their hearts racing, speechless. There are no more jokes, no more justifications, only silence. A different silence, the silence of fear. You flipped the script, not with shouting matches, but with an undeniable truth. You became fully, unmistakably you. And no ridicule in the world can stand against that. There is an unshakable law. When true light appears, darkness doesn't have to be chased away. It disappears on its own. And that is exactly what's happening now. They cannot stand in the presence of truth. They cannot keep pretending when the light reveals everything. But remember, this is only the beginning. Your quiet days were never wasted. They were preparation. They were the silent declaration that you don't need to rush to prove yourself. You only need to show up at the right time. And now, that time is near. The explosion no longer belongs to a distant future. It has already touched the edge of the present. Can you feel it? The rising heat, the building energy, the storm that is waiting to erupt. Breathe deep. Stay steady. You won't have to wait much longer. They once laughed at your silence. But now, that silence has made them speechless. And this rising it cannot be stopped. What makes it all the more extraordinary is this: the universe sent them signs, warnings that your rise would be unstoppable. But they chose to ignore them all. There have been moments when the universe spoke. Long before the light in you erupted, those who stood against you felt something coming. They couldn't name it, but deep down, they sensed a current shifting beneath the surface. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't imagination. It was a warning. The universe has never been unfair. It always sends a signal before the storm arrives. They once dreamed of you. They once had a strange feeling when you walked into the room. There were nights they couldn't sleep because a quiet voice whispered within, "Be careful, something is about to change." But instead of listening, they chose to mock. Instead of humility, they chose arrogance. Instead of preparing to rise, they spent their strength trying to drag you down. But the truth is, the universe never warns without reason. It didn't give them glimpses of your rise to scare them, but to give them a chance to change, to grow, to find their way back to themselves. They refused it. They treated the warnings like passing winds, and their pride became a blindfold, keeping them from seeing the truth unfolding. Have you ever felt that you were being protected by something greater than yourself? When attacks closed in from all sides, somehow, an unseen force still lifted you, still carried you, still kept you alive. That wasn't luck. That was divine protection at work. And right here, the number 444 appears as a sacred seal. It is not just a random sequence. It is a message you are surrounded. 444 is the foundation, the stability, the assurance that angels and universal energy are standing around you, shielding you from the blows your enemies thought would destroy you. Think back, how many times did you feel like it was over, only for a new path to open up? How many times did you fall, only to rise stronger? How many times did everything seem against you? Yet here you are, still breathing, still standing, still walking forward. That is 444 inches motion. That is the protection you cannot see but have always felt. If this number stirs something in you, don't ignore it. Let it be etched into your heart as a promise you were never alone. You never fought with your strength alone. You were never abandoned. And if you feel it now, declare it. Type it. Speak it. Let your soul say it out loud. I am protected. I am held. I am not alone. This world is filled with people who saw the signs but ignored them. And it was their ignorance that led them to the edge of the cliff. They believed their power was untouchable, that their thrones were immovable. They mocked the signals the universe sent. But look around, everything is shifting. What they thought would last forever is now crumbling like sand. The truth is, they never held real power. It was borrowed. It was fabricated. A temporary mask. The universe only allowed them to hold it for a moment until real strength arrived. And that strength is you. Look at them now, they're trembling. The walls of pride are cracking. The thrones they clung to are shaking. The illusions of invincibility are falling apart, and they're finally starting to see. The warnings they ignored weren't empty. They were truth. Unavoidable truth. There is a verse etched in ancient words, now echoing in your soul. The secret of the Lord is with those who fear him, and he will show them his covenant. Psalm 25-14. Do you hear it? Warnings are never given to the arrogant. Revelation comes to the humble, to those who listen. They did not listen. They lacked reverence, and so they lost everything. But you, it was your humility, your silence, your patience that kept you safe in divine arms. You never claimed to be invincible. You are simply a soul that knows it is being led. And that, right there, is the greatest difference between you and them. Now, as you look back, you'll see every attack never broke you. It built you. What they tried to stop only strengthened your journey. They thought they could rewrite your fate by holding you back, but your fate was never in their hands. It's held by the one who created the skies, and your name has long been written there. Now, as you continue walking this path, it becomes clear you were never alone. You were never as weak as they assumed. You were protected. You were guarded. You were led by a hand they will never understand. Let that truth sink deep. You are not just someone trying to survive. You are living proof of destiny, protected by a foundation that cannot be shaken. They ignored the warning. They chose to go against the current of the universe. And now they are facing the consequences. But you stand firm, because your strength does not come from anything that can be taken. Your strength comes from a sacred source. And as you keep moving forward, you'll realize your power isn't only coming from what protects you now. It comes from the prayers, the hopes, the unfinished dreams of generations behind you. There is something you must understand. The strength you carry did not begin with you, and it will not end with you. It does not belong to one lifetime, one moment in time. It is the resonance of generations, those who came before you, who fought in silence, who prayed in the dark, who sacrificed without ever seeing the light. Everything they longed for, everything they never finished, now flows through your blood. You are not a lone flame. You are the fire that rose from a million ashes. Every step you take is a continuation of footsteps that once collapsed. Every victory you gain is the unfinished dream of someone who once prayed for a future generation to be free. When you rise not just for yourself, but for the lineage that once fell. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this: behind you stand countless faces. Some you know, most you've never met. They are grandparents, ancestors, souls who walked this earth before you. Some endured wars, others swallowed loss, others buried their dreams. They could not go further, but they passed on the seed. And today, that seed is blooming in you. They never disappeared. They are here. In every heartbeat, in every drop of blood, in every moment you fall but still rise. Can you feel it? Every time you thought you were too weak to keep going, something surged from deep within, pushing you to stand again. That is them. That is the strength of legacy. The enemy thinks they are fighting just you, but in truth, they are resisting an entire current of history. They believe they can isolate you, but they don't know that every step you take is echoed by an invisible army walking beside you. They can't understand this because they've never known the weight of a prayer that spans generations. Remember this: when you break a chain, you're not breaking it just for you. You're breaking it for every soul that was once bound. When you overcome a wall, you're not climbing it just for you. You're clearing the path for all those who will come after. When you win, it's not a personal victory. It's a collective triumph for the thousands who place their hope in you. There is a verse that echoes like an ancient song, whispering through the soul. The secret of the Lord is with those who fear him, and he will show them his covenant. Psalm 25-14. Can you feel it? This mystery is not revealed to just anyone. Not everyone sees it, but you have been entrusted. That longing, that covenant, that flow, it is being revealed through your very existence. Have you ever wondered why you sometimes feel so heavy? As if you're carrying something larger than yourself? That isn't your imagination. That is truth. You are bearing the weight of generations, and at the same time, you are carrying their hope. There are nights when a whisper rises in your soul, distant yet clear. There are moments when you almost gave up, but something invisible lifted you. That is them. That is the chorus of 1,000 prayers still alive, holding you up. When you raise your head, don't just see yourself. See the multitude behind you. They are pouring their strength into you. They are sending their dreams through you, and they are waiting for you to keep walking. So those dreams will no longer remain unfinished. The enemy cannot fight this because they only know how to battle a single person. They only understand how to defeat one body. But you are not just one. You are the river, the echo, the extension of history. You are the proof that truth cannot be buried forever. You are not here by chance. You were sent. Right place, right time, right mission. You are the answer to prayers that never heard a reply. You are the evidence that every tear ever shed was not in vain. You are the living result of sacrifice that was never wasted. And now, you must remember this when you move forward. You do not walk alone. You walk for a lineage, and because of that, you cannot stop. You cannot dim your light to make others comfortable. You cannot reject your strength, because it is not just yours. It is the strength of all of history, now living in you. Maybe you never thought you were strong enough. Maybe you've doubted yourself. But remember, this strength is not just your own. It was handed down, given to you by invisible hands that placed a sword in yours so you could finish the battle they could not. And that is why you cannot fail. When you rise, an unseen army rises with you. When you fight, the force of generations flows through your every strike. When you win, the cheer is not just your own. It is the roar of 1,000 souls who waited for this moment. You can feel them now, can't you? They do not speak aloud, but they live in your heartbeat. They do not appear in flesh, but they shine through your eyes. They do not hold your hand, but with every step you take, you know they walk with you. And when you realize this, you will understand the enemy never had a chance. Because they are not just fighting you, They are facing something far beyond what they could ever comprehend. And when your light rises, when that strength bursts forth, one truth will be revealed. Your presence doesn't just uplift. It exposes the shadows of those who never had the courage to live as they truly are. Light never asks for permission to shine. It simply appears. And when it does, darkness has nowhere left to hide. Your presence is just like that. You never needed to shout to prove yourself. You never needed to argue to win. You simply had to walk in, and truth revealed itself. They don't tremble because of what you've done. They tremble because of who you are. Your authentic self, unmasked, unfiltered, is enough to make the masks around them fall away. And that is what they fear most: being seen. For years, they built walls made of lies. They created false images, decorated with reputation, power, and polished words. But all of it was nothing more than a fragile curtain. And when your light floods in, that curtain can no longer hold. Remember, this real light doesn't argue. It doesn't try to prove it's real. It just is. And by simply existing, it forces everything around it to be seen for what it truly is. When you stand there, silent, their lies grow heavier on their lips. When you meet their eyes, their pretense crumbles. When you are simply yourself, the world around you can no longer pretend. Have you ever noticed how your silence makes people uncomfortable? How you walk into a room and say nothing, yet the air shifts? They fidget, they laugh awkwardly, they change the subject. They can't handle it because truth is present in your presence. And in that moment, you understand you weren't sent here to make them comfortable. You were sent to shine. It was once written in Scripture, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" Psalm 27:1. That is not just a prayer, it is a declaration. You carry the light, you are the light, and that light cannot be hidden. They may tremble, they may fear, but this light was never theirs to control. It was placed in you by the one who sent you. You don't need to apologize for shining. You don't need to shrink to make others feel at ease. If your light unsettles them, it's because the darkness in them has never been healed. If your truth scares them, it's because they've lived in lies for far too long. They will try to call you arrogant. They'll try to label you with names that do not belong to you. But the truth is, you don't need arrogance. You only need to show up. And your presence alone is enough to expose their shadows. That is why they resent you. Not because you did something wrong, but because you forced them to face themselves. Every time you walk in, the lies they've told themselves begin to feel heavy. Every time you speak truth, their justifications turn to dust. You don't need to criticize them, your existence already does. And you must remember, their fear is not your burden. You are not responsible for their comfort. You don't need to hide your light to protect their darkness. You were born to shine, not to ask permission. Maybe you felt out of place. Maybe you thought you were too different to belong. But that difference is your calling. You're not the outsider. You're the guide. You are not a mistake. You are the answer. When light shines, two things always happen. People either choose to see the truth and change, or they run deeper into the dark. And you must understand that choice is not yours to make. It is theirs. You only have one task: to keep shining. And as you do, something extraordinary will unfold. Your light won't just make the darkness tremble. It will begin to dismantle the most solid illusions. Empires built on lies will shake. Houses made of fantasy will collapse. Because nothing can stand when faced with truth. When you step in, you bring with you a kind of energy they cannot fight. It doesn't roar, but it is powerful. It doesn't destroy with weapons, but it slowly dissolves every illusion until there's nothing left to cling to. Picture this: a room long sealed in darkness, locked away for years. People got used to the dark. They called it home. But then, just one sliver of light breaks in and everything changes. The dust, the cobwebs, the decay, all is revealed. That is what your light does. It doesn't attack. It simply exists. And that existence alone is enough to make the darkness retreat. That is why you must keep going. That is why you cannot shrink. This world doesn't need more people who blend in. It needs a guiding light. And that light is you. Because when your light shines, it doesn't just expose darkness. It melts down the illusions your enemies have built for years. And that is the next step on this path. From the moment your light began to spread, every illusion they built began to shake. You didn't need violence to bring anything down. Your presence alone was enough to collapse the towers built on lies, A kingdom built on sand crumbles when the tide comes in. And you are the tide. Have you noticed that? Your arrival carries an energy that falsehood simply cannot survive. Not because you attacked, but because the truth in you is too strong to ignore. When truth walks into a room, illusion dissolves. Those who once hid behind tricks and masks suddenly find their hands empty. While they believed they had built something untouchable, you entered like a breeze and everything unstable in them was laid bare. You didn't need to do anything but be yourself. And the universe did the rest, because the universe has never sided with deception. It only waits patiently for the right moment to reveal the truth. You see, truth never rushes. It's slow, quiet, but certain. It builds like pressure beneath the earth. And then, one day, it erupts like a volcano, consuming everything that is false. And you are that eruption, unstoppable, untamed. It is written in Scripture. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118-22. Remember that? You were once dismissed, disregarded, seen as worthless. But now, you've become the foundation the universe chose to build something new. And when that structure rises, the false towers beside it will fall in its shadow. Here's the wonder: you never had to compete for a place. You never had to shout to be seen. The universe cleared the path for you. It swept away the false, removed the unstable, so that you could stand on something real. Do you remember how many times they plotted against you? Every lie, every blow, every trap they thought would break you. All of it turned back on them. They didn't understand that the universe doesn't reward those who build with deception. When they sowed darkness, they reaped darkness. And every stone they threw at you became a step you used to rise. There is a bitter irony. They thought they were in control, but they never wrote the rules. The rules were set by the one who wrote destiny. And in those rules, truth always wins. Light always endures. And those who stand in the light will always be lifted. Have you realized you didn't need to fight as hard as you thought? Many times, you only needed to hold your ground, guard your heart, and let the universe do what it does best. Every time they tried to pull you down, it raised you higher. Every time they planted shadows, your light grew brighter. Every illusion they built, your presence brought crashing down. Now, you no longer need to ask why it all happened. You can finally see you were never fighting them. The universe was using you as a vessel to reveal the truth. You are the sword that never needs to be drawn, only shown. You are the lamp that never needs to argue, only shine. Maybe you never believed your strength was this great. But look again. How many times did they try to rebuild the same broken walls, only for them to crumble the moment you passed? How many times did your silence speak louder than their justifications? How many times were you simply yourself and the whole room shifted? They're learning a hard lesson. Not everything can be bought with manipulation. Not everything can be kept with lies. And not all light can be hidden forever. So ask yourself this: if every illusion around you collapsed today, would you still be standing? If the answer is yes, then you know the truth. Your foundation was never built on sand. It was built on stone. And because of that, you cannot be shaken. Remember this: you weren't born to blend in with false structures. You were born to be a foundation. And when you stand firm, everything unreal around you will collapse on its own. You don't need to tear anyone down. Truth will do that for you. You don't need to strike to break things apart. The light in you will break them all. And when those illusions fall, an even deeper truth will come to light. They weren't just afraid of your strength. They were afraid of what they couldn't understand. You are the mystery they could never explain. And that is what leaves them in despair. As illusions crumble, they'll desperately try to define you, to put you in a box they can make sense of. But you were never meant to be contained. You are the paradox they cannot solve. And that is what this next chapter is about to reveal. When illusions fall apart, they begin to panic. They no longer know what to do with you. They try to label you, to define you, to trap you inside a box, just to feel more in control. But they fail, because you were never born to be defined. You are the paradox they cannot explain. When you are silent, they think you're weak. Yet that silence makes the entire room tremble. When you speak, they call you arrogant. Yet every word becomes an arrow that pierces through their masks. When you are humble, they assume you're easy to crush. Yet your humility becomes your strongest shield. When you are strong, they see you as a threat, never realizing that your strength is born from love and purpose. They don't know where to place you. In their world, everyone must choose a role, strong or weak, loud or quiet, leader or follower. But you are all of it, all at once. You are silence that echoes, humility that commands respect, softness that cannot break. You are the contradiction that unsettles them, and whether you realize it or not, your unpredictability is your greatest weapon. They don't know what you'll do next. They are used to people they can predict, manipulate, control, but you don't play by their rules. You write new ones. Watch closely. They always expect you to follow a familiar script. When you are quiet, they think you've surrendered. When you rise, they assume you'll fight like them, using the same tools. But then you do what they never imagined, you create your own path. And just like that, every one of their plans crumbles. They believed you needed them to be seen, but you kept walking without applause. They assumed you'd beg for a place. But you built your own kingdom, one they have no access to. They thought you'd be destroyed without the system, but you became unshakable because you never belonged to it. This is where the number 777 appears, the sacred symbol of spiritual awakening, the number of divine unlocking. It's not just a sequence, it's a sign from the universe that you are stepping into a higher dimension of understanding. It reminds you that you were never meant to fit into old patterns. You are here to open doors no one else has dared to touch. So if 777 is appearing in your life on a screen, in a dream, or out of nowhere, know that it's a reminder. You are not here by accident. You are the evidence of awakening, and your soul is stepping into a new phase. If this number resonates within you now, declare it. I choose to awaken. I choose to walk the path the universe has called me to. The truth is, you don't need to be understood. You only need to be real. The people around you may try to define you, categorize you, shrink you into something predictable, but you were not born to fit. You were born to break every outdated definition, and that's why they fear you, not just because you're powerful, but because they cannot grasp you. They don't know how to prepare for you. They don't know how to defend against you. You are the unknown variable that makes all their strategies collapse. There's a verse that echoes in ancient words, "My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." Psalm 121:2. That is the key. You don't stand on their approval. You don't fight for their praise. You stand on a foundation they can't shake. And that's why you cannot be defeated. Look at them every time they think they've figured you out. You break the mold again. They want you to be predictable, but you move to a rhythm they cannot hear. They want to box you in, but you are water. The more they try to contain you, the more you overflow. And the truth becomes clear. They don't just hate you because you're different. They hate you because your difference reveals their compromise. Your presence is a mirror proof that the world does not have to run on the terms they settled for. You remind them they could have become more, but they chose less. And that is the wound they cannot silence. So now you see it, don't you? You don't need to fight to prove you're stronger. All you need is to keep being the paradox they cannot explain. That is your greatest power. You were never born to fit their world. You were born to change it. And as you continue walking in your light, a deeper truth emerges. Your presence is not just a mystery. It is living proof that they could have chosen differently. And knowing that is what hurts them the most. There is a silent pain they never dare name. When they look at you, they don't just see your success. They see their own failure. They don't just see the light you shine. They see the darkness in their hearts that they never confronted. They don't just see you moving forward. They see themselves long stop. You are living proof of what they always avoided, that they could have been more. They could have chosen courage instead of safety. They could have chosen discipline instead of laziness. They could have chosen truth instead of illusion, but they didn't. And now every time they look at you, they are forced to face the truth that every excuse, every lie, every illusion they told themselves was a deception. There is a bitter image. A bird locked in a cage will never feel joy upon seeing an eagle soaring. It does not resent the eagle for its wings. It resents it for reminding it that its wings have been forgotten for too long. That is why they cannot stop obsessing over you, why they always whisper about you, why they watch your every step, why they cannot leave you alone. Because you are a mirror reflecting everything they did not become. Every time you rise to a higher level, their hearts tear with regret. I could have been that, but I didn't have the courage. The truth is, Their hatred toward you was never really about you. It was always self-hatred. They do not resent you for taking something from them. They resent you for proving they could have done so much more but chose less. In Scripture it says, "Those who sow with tears will reap with shouts of joy." Psalm 126:5. You understand this more than anyone. You have sown in tears, in loneliness, in nights no one witnessed. And now you are reaping. And what of them? They never sowed. They only sought shortcuts, easiest paths, and now they live with the consequence. Empty hands, full of regret. One thing they never realize, your presence was never their condemnation. It was an invitation to awaken. The light you carry was never meant only to expose them, but to call them out of darkness. But instead of acceptance, they turned away. Instead of learning, they chose envy. Instead of rising, they chose to remain in resentment. Thus your light became a burden to them, not because it threatened them, but because it reminded them that they rejected themselves. Remember, you are not responsible for their regret. You do not owe anyone your diminishment to make them feel better. You cannot carry the weight of their wrong choices. The truth is, each person has their chance. You chose to step forward. They chose to remain. And now that difference is a chasm no one can bridge. The number 999 resonates now as confirmation. 999 is fulfillment, the closing of one cycle and the opening of another. It reminds you that you have traversed a challenging path, and now an old era is ending. At the same time, it is a wake-up call to them. The opportunity has passed, a chapter has closed, and what they lost will not return. If you feel 999 echo within your heart, know this: you stand at the threshold of renewal. You are no longer bound by the old. You no longer carry others' approval on your shoulders. You are stepping into a new cycle, one where your light cannot be denied, one where you are free to fulfill your mission. Let the number serve as a declaration in your heart. I close the old cycle. I step into the new beginning. Here is the bitter truth that terrifies your enemies. They have missed their opportunity. You are no longer in their game. You no longer compete at their table. You have moved beyond while they remain stuck in old patterns. They thought they could destroy you. Yet everything they did only propelled you forward faster. They believed they could rewrite your destiny, but destiny was never theirs to command. They believed they could control your light, but light never asks permission to shine. And now, all that is left for them is regret. Regret for not sowing when they could. Regret for wasting energy fighting you instead of building themselves. Regret for never daring to step into the light, and that regret will follow them while you move further out of reach. You have completed one cycle. You are preparing for a new beginning. And in this new chapter, you need not look back to prove anything. Your light will continue to shine, not to avenge, but to illuminate. You don't need their acknowledgement. Your presence is proof that cannot be denied. And as the old cycle closes, you will glimpse a deeper truth. Everything they ever tried to do to change your destiny ultimately became the tools by which that destiny was made stronger. And that you will see with your own eyes. Take a deep breath, because this is the moment when truth is fully revealed. Everything they ever did to oppose you, to rewrite your destiny, in the end, could not stop anything. On the contrary, every blow, every lie, every wall they raised, all became tools to strengthen your destiny. You remember the days when they thought they had won. They laughed when you stumbled, convinced they had erased your name from the flow of fate. Yet in that very moment, the fire within you was forged. In the darkness they cast, the seed of your power quietly grew. They did not know that destiny can never be bent so easily. Destiny is not a page for humans to erase or rewrite. It is an eternal flame. It is an unceasing current. It is a promise etched before your first breath. And as it is written, the counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. Psalm 33:11. See, that intent never belonged to them. It was ordained long ago. Every obstacle they placed before you, you turned into a staircase. Every stone they threw became a foundation. Every mocking word became fuel. And every fragment they thought would bury you is now material for the throne on which you stand. They deceived themselves into believing they could control you. But the truth is, they never battled you. They fought the invincible destiny. And that is a war they cannot win. Look at them now. When you stand in the light, all that remains for them is fear and regret. They realize they never held power. They were only unwilling spectators, forced to watch you become. But you do not need to look at them with hatred. Your light was never born to exact revenge. It was born to illuminate. You were not sent to destroy them. You were sent to remind them that truth can never remain buried forever. Perhaps one day, in silence, they will look back and remember all that passed and recognize that you were never their enemy. You were a reminder. You were proof they might have chosen another path. And perhaps your presence will stir within some hearts still chained to darkness the courage to stand again. But that is not your burden. Your path does not end in explanation or persuasion. Your path is to continue walking, continue shining, continue being living proof that light never loses. Do you recall the sacred numbers that have appeared along your journey? 111 as new beginnings, 444 as foundational protection, 777 as spiritual awakening, 999 as completion. They are not just numbers, but universe seals deeply etched into your journey. And now they unify like a sacred melody, affirming that you are in the right place, at the right time, for the right purpose. If you feel this resonance, let your heart speak. Share in the comments which number echoes most strongly within your soul, because when you speak it, you not only confirm it for yourself, you ignite strength in those walking the same path. You are proof that darkness can never snuff out light. You are living evidence that every conspiracy against you only made you stronger. You are the manifest truth that destiny cannot be rewritten by mortal hands. Now you step into a new stage, no longer bound by fear, no longer shackled by the need for approval, no longer swayed by the voice of enemies. You walk with the confidence of a soul who knows they are chosen, protected, and sent to illuminate the way. Let this blessing echo within you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn His face toward you and give you peace. Number 6, 2426. This is not a distant prayer, but the heartbeat of this story. That peace, that light, that blessing, they live in you. Walk on, chosen one. Do not look back seeking validation. Do not dim your light to make others comfortable. Do not doubt your destiny, for it has never wavered. Walk on, for the universe is clearing the path. Shine, for the world needs the lamp that only you can carry. And remember, you were never alone. Generations stand behind you. The universe moves before you. Light surrounds you, and destiny awaits you ahead. They saw, trembled, hated, opposed, but in the end, they have no power left. There is only one truth left. You cannot be stopped. You are proof of light, of truth, of a destiny that cannot be denied. The final echo of the story is not in a roar, but in a gentle whisper. You were always called. You were always protected. And now you walk in the fullness of light. Continue on, for this journey is not over. It has only begun. Grateful that you chose to spend these moments in the light of this story. If it touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell so the next whisper of light may find its way back to you.